left, right.
This episode is about 25 things that are not popular, but you should be doing. Listen to our list. Let me know if you agree, disagree. Are they really that unpopular? And what do we miss? What would you like to add to the list? This is SipTalk. Grab a drink and enjoy.
Process failure.
Cheers.
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 All right, we are live. This is SipTalk, episode 237, titled, Can This Be a Whole Next Episode? 25 Unpopular Things That You Should Be Doing. My name is Justin DiGiulio out of SipTalk headquarters here in my basement in New Jersey, joined by James, the Boswell, philosopher, philanthropist, philatelist, a man who once thought about playing in the Philharmonic. James Boswell, how's it hanging down there in sunny South Carolina?
Boy, that would have been hilarious if I would have gone to like a Philharmonic audition. Just because,
So
like, for anybody who doesn't know me, the only instrument that I play is guitar, and that's not like I'm not particularly skillful at it. So, like, really, like, come in with like a cello that I bought. Like,
so can this be a whole next episode? This is an add-on to our last episode 236, 25 things you should never do. So this is 25 unpopular things that you definitely should do.
or at least like consider.
Okay, you shouldn't write off entirely, really, which I
Yeah,
think a lot of people do, which is why they're fucking unpopular. Okay. For a while, I didn't have my notes. I just pulled them out, and I was hoping to myself that I had the trivia question that I asked last week, which we will give you the answer to last week's trivia question about halfway through this episode. So if you don't feel like listening to us, you can skip through to about the 30-minute mark. But really, if you don't feel like listening to us, you probably just turn us right off. Switch the channel here. So let's see. It's still dry January for me. Dry is in the sense not that I'm drinking at all. I am drinking, but mostly just water, no alcohol whatsoever. I have the last of the seltzer water, so I'm going to enjoy that. Not drinking is actually really, really tough. I realize how much I love drinking. I had a rough day today. I went out to grab some lunch, and I just kept thinking as I was walking by Irish bar after pub after Korean restaurant, thinking, damn, it'd just be so much easier for me to just pop in, grab a pint, grab a quick bite, and then just pop back in the office. Instead, I have to like find a place where I can order the food and take it back, bring it to the office, and sit down at my desk. It sounds like a whole lot of work.
you know these restaurants will allow you to order food without a drink, right?
Yeah, I know, but it's nice to be able to order your food, and while they're making it, you just sit at the bar, you suck down a pint. I get to catch up on a little email. Instead, I ended up at Taco Bell. And the thing is, when I'm hungry, I'm not good at thinking. So like that's when I'm really hungry is when I end up like grabbing shit food
That
crap.
explains a lot because you're always hungry.
I am always hungry, but I end up grabbing like shit food, like lousy pizza or Taco Bell or something. And I don't even like Taco Bell. It's just I can walk in, grab the food, walk out, get back to the office, and eat while I walk down the sidewalk. Same thing with pizza. All right, that's my rant. I'm almost done with dry January. I had an event that was supposed to be this weekend. I was going to cut dry January off this coming weekend, but the event has been canceled. So now I guess I just have to see this shit through the very end of the month. On that note, how's it hanging down there?
Oh, dude, it's finally like not freezing. So I don't know what the deal is with this house, but I feel like I learned that this house was like a model home when this like 40 years ago when they were developing this area, and I'm thinking that like as part of the whole home building process, they decided to skimp on the insulation because like there's a model home, who cares? Um, and so like this house does not do a very good job of retaining temperature.
Oh
So
man.
like during the summer it gets kind of warm and during the winter it gets kind of cold. And so I'm just not built for that anymore. And like last weekend, it got down to like probably like 22 degrees at night. And so even with the heat running the entire night, it only got to like 62 or 63 in here. Dude, I hate it.
I enjoy a little coldness in the home because then you can put on some thick socks and maybe a sweater. Whereas if you just keep your house at like 70 something on the inside in the wintertime, it's still 70 degrees. You don't want to curl up under a blanket or put some heavy socks on or a sweater on. And I like doing that, but I can't do it when it's hot, when it's warm.
I don't know. It was 75 degrees in my house today. And after work, I took a nap and curled up underneath a blanket and it felt pretty great.
I love your nap schedule. Let's get on to our topic at hand. Can this be a whole next episode? 25 popular things that you should be doing. I guess we'll lead with yours, right? Last week we
let's go back and forth.
Okay, so we'll start at 1 and then we'll fast forward to 11.
Yeah.
Why not? Go for it.
So my first one is like eating alone at a restaurant or like going to a movie alone.
It's funny because that actually came up in my office today, and one person was like, "I could never do that." The other person was like, "Oh, I do it all the time." What do you think is the issue? Why some people have a fear of eating alone?
My first guess would be kind of a perception, like that they think that people are going to see them eating alone and think like, oh, that person has no friends.
It's worrying what other people must think of you. I think that's the greater portion of the issue.
I don't think it's entirely, but I think that's a big
no,
driver.
it's not.
For
I don't think
people
it's. I just think it is the majority likeliness of the issue. Why else would you think?
I don't know. Maybe like for eating alone at a restaurant, they might feel like they'd get bored because they don't have someone to talk to.
Maybe. I
don't know. I've done both of these things.
I don't think I've ever been to a movie alone. That seems a little strange to me, only because I don't have a huge drive to go to the movie theater. But it depends on how much you want to do these things. If you really want to go to a restaurant and you don't have someone to go with you, you really want to go see a movie, you don't have someone to go with you, then you should just go.
And that, yeah, like I've not seen very many movies alone, but yeah, there's been times where like there's a movie that I really wanted to see, and nobody I knew either wanted to see the movie or was free at the time that I could go. I was like, screw it, I'm just going to go by myself.
I think the thing is a lot of it has to do with like how your brain is operating and what it's focused on. I'm thinking like if you were traveling for work and you were in a different city and it's 7:00 on a Thursday or Friday night, what are you going to do? Like you want to go out. You could order room service, sure. But I think most people will be more inclined to go find a restaurant and go and have dinner.
Yeah, like when I was traveling for refereeing a bunch, I couldn't tell you how many times I ate at a restaurant alone because it was just me.
But I think knowing that like you're in a city alone, you want to go to a restaurant, you're not you you have a reason to be eating alone. Whereas if you're just in your own city or your own town, going to a restaurant and eating alone may make you feel a little weird. But it's really just what like your agenda is in your mind. So when you realize that all of that is like what's happening in your mind, then just fucking go to the restaurant on your own.
Eating at a restaurant alone is actually really fun because like you pay attention to different things. Because if you're at a restaurant with somebody else, you're paying attention to them. You're talking with them about whatever. But like in a restaurant, if you're eating alone, like you get to watch everything that's happening in the restaurant. And it can be really interesting.
Raj brings up a good point, and I was thinking about adding that is oftentimes if I'm going to eat alone, I'm going to sit at the bar. And I think that's probably a little more socially acceptable. And also maybe the wait staff might enjoy that a little bit more because you're not cutting their tips in half by taking up half of a 2-top table.
It depends on how busy it is because like wait staff might not care
well, if it's not busy, yeah.
Like eating alone at a restaurant at the bar is like different, but even like eating at a table alone, I don't know. Like I've enjoyed it. I would do it again, and I will.
I don't think it needs to. I was looking forward to going to a place to eat alone today. So, although I didn't, I ate alone while I walked back to my office. All right, I guess we'll skip to 11. Avoiding or staying off of social media. Now, you are not a social media guy. You don't belong to any real social media websites. I mean, I don't know if I would consider like Reddit as social media, because you're usually not sharing like pictures of yourself, and
Some people are,
some
but like
people do though. Yeah, that's
probably the number one rule on Reddit though is like
it's
it's
anonymous.
supposed to be anonymous. Like
Yeah.
you're not supposed to share personal data. So like pictures of yourself, like there's lots of that on Reddit, but I think it's the so, to some degree or another the illusion that like people can't identify you and find you in real life.
Well, whereas Facebook or Instagram or TikTok is vastly about yourself,
Yeah.
self promotion. But I think that social media is great in many aspects for a lot of people, but generally, I think it's a huge time suck. Takes a lot of time, and it distorts your perception of reality. Like everything online looks a hell of a lot better. Everybody is always posting themselves. Doing fun things. It's not a true reflection of what life is like. And even I'm looking at I'm on Instagram here and TikTok over here and a regular camera over here. And I look a hell of a lot better here on TikTok and on Instagram. And those are, I'm not filtering it. There's just some type of built-in filter that makes me look better. So my rule on social media, because I am self-promoting a little bit for the sake of the podcast and the business, is that I must add more content than I take in. So I spend very little time kind of scrolling and try to add content more often than that. What do you want to hit next? You want to hit your number 2 next, or you want to add about social media?
Have I told you my theory about like comparing your day to other people's days on social media?
No, go for it.
So most of the time when people are posting stuff on social media, like if as we go through life, like most of your days are probably going to be like fives and sixes, right? Out of
Mm-hmm.
10. Like you
Sure.
might have like a good day might be a 7, a
Mm-hmm.
bad day might be a 3 or a 4. But like, and very rarely are you going to have those days that are like a high 9 or like a low 2 or a low 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are really rare. But those are what people post on social media
Of
is
course.
like everyone's posting the things that happened on their day that was a 9 or a 9.5. And so those are the only things that get posted. So you have this whole sampling bias where you're looking at everybody else's days that are 9s and 9.5s. And you're like, my day was only a 6. This sucks. Everybody's having 9s every day and I'm having a 5. And what you're not can't what your brain can't really do is account for the fact that they had 1 9 in the last year and they posted about it. But if you know enough people, then every single one of those people on a different day is going to be having a 9 and you're having 5s and 6s.
That's exactly the case. I said it kind of distorts your perception of reality. What you see online is not reality, and even though there's a lot of it,
Well, the
it's
thing is, it is reality. That's why it's so effective. The
well, no,
thing
but
is,
it's not. It's not representative of uh, reality in the sense that it's real things. Sometimes it's not real things,
well, that's true
but
too. Yeah,
it's not like consistent. Somebody's showing you their boat or whatever it is. Like you're missing the days the boat's spending in the shop, or you whatever it might be.
yeah.
Um,
So
But also, when I said yeah, it is real, but actually a lot of it is not, because when you get to filters and things like that, which over the last few years have gotten fucking insane. Like I don't even know what some people look like. I've met people from online in real life, and they are completely different people. They don't look anything like the online version of themselves, which is wild. And I wonder if people actually, and I know they must, start believing that's what they actually look like.
it's a
They actually look like.
it's a small to large problem when you're trying to do online dating too.
I
Now,
can
thankfully, I
imagine.
feel like I've developed something of an eye for filters.
Yeah, I think there is this kind of little uncanniness to most of the filters, but some of them they can be tough.
Yeah, but like when things look like overly smooth,
Hmm.
it's like no, like real life is not that smooth. Like, but yeah, all right. So next
All
one,
right,
and this
next.
is a good one.
This is a good.
This is
I was thinking as you added this
this is probably the one that I'm most passionate about here,
on
and
the list.
that's
Yeah,
GMO food.
Yes. For some reason, GMO food is hated. People are terrified of it. They're afraid that they're going to get cancer from it.
You see all these labels on various like frou products, or just like go to a coffee shop, and every single bottle you pick up in the coffee shop is going to say non-GMO organic, right?
Yeah, fat-free,
Yeah.
fat-free coffee grinds.
But
Where are
the
you
thing
going?
about GMO food is that there's been some very vocal activists that have been able to commandeer the narrative about GMO food and make it sound like all GMO food is bad, when that just isn't the case.
Well,
And it's complicated because there's some GMO food that is legitimately a huge improvement over like the original food. And I'll use the example of rice. So there's some GMO rice where they've been able to modify the DNA of the rice to make it so that the rice produces certain vitamins, like maybe vitamin A. And so the rice grows the same, gets harvested the same, tastes the same, but now provides vitamins that the like non-GMO rice didn't provide. And so in third world countries where people might have 80 to 90% of their diet being rice, being able to add in vitamins that they wouldn't otherwise get into their diet at essentially no cost is just a win, right?
there's no downside to this because the GMO is not dangerous
No.
any
And
other way.
you can also have some plants that might have like a vulnerability, like a particular like bacteria or mold or something, or pests
Well,
like
let's
insects.
let's
And oh no
explain.
no like and so you could you could have GMO crops that are just more resistant to pests, so that they have to use less pesticide. So like farming produces less pollution because you're spraying less chemicals on the plants because the plants are just resistant themselves.
On their own, but let's talk about how we genetically modify foods
Um,
and some animals. Uh,
CRISPR?
CRISPR's one. So, but not everything is done in a petri dish. It is more so now because we can more fine edit the genetics of these foods. But most of the food that we are eating and that we've eaten for the last 60 years has been genetically modified through crossbreeding of different plant species. Now we're able to do it and nobody has any issue with that. Nobody has any issues with getting bigger bananas because you breed it with different plants. Or think about the number of apples that you have when you go to
Based on my internet research, most people want bigger bananas.
I heard it's not the size that matters. But when I mean, think about the sheer number of options you have for types of apples, right?
Oh, there's like thousands of types.
Exactly, and that's because we've crossbred different apples to get juicierness or more
Sweet or
sour or
sour.
sweeter, yeah, whatever, or different flavor profiles. And now some of this can be done in a lab you know, where you're literally editing genes with CRISPR, and some of it's just done through crossbreeding. But look at nearly any chicken that you could buy in a first world country is not like if you look at a chicken from 300 years ago, it does not look it does not resemble at all the size and the volume of a chicken from the last 50 or 60 years.
No.
Uh,
I will say there is one. There's at least one very legitimate criticism of GMO foods, which is that some of the really big agribusinesses like
uh,
Monsanto will
Monsanto.
genetically modify their crops so that they don't produce seeds, which locks the farmers into having to buy seeds every single year.
Well, this is the biggest issue. This is the real issue, the only issue. Not that GMO food is unhealthy for you. The biggest issue is that you have large industries that are controlling the food. And then, so for example, if you have a corn crop that is non-GMO, non-Monsanto, and I think this has happened before, and there's a Monsanto corn crop alongside yours, their property abuts yours, and their seeds start to land on your property, and your corn starts growing with their seed. Um, well, one, they could have a right to your product, which I think they've sued farms.
Yeah, I don't know the results of those because, like, on its face, it seems ridiculous that the farm that had seeds blown onto it
But
should.
where you were just going was that they are also. So let me ask you a question. You remember watermelons when we were growing up? They had black seeds in them.
Yeah.
Have you bought a watermelon in the last decade?
Yes.
Okay, I buy it maybe 3 or 4 every summer. I have not seen black seeds in a watermelon in probably 7, 8 years.
Okay.
They don't have, most of them don't have any seeds at all
Yeah, because you don't want to have to
because
bite into
people
a seed.
don't want seeds. Exactly. The problem with a fruit that doesn't have seeds is you're basically breeding a mule.
Yeah.
So anybody who's not familiar with a mule, it is a GMO, and they can't mate. They can't have baby mules.
So yeah, I guess the bigger danger of GMOs is just allowing further consolidation in in like monopolization of the food industry, which is just not really good for anybody.
But generally, they are not bad for your health. Rashko, shit, it just hit me. I never realized the seeds disappeared. The seeds are going. All right, next up, GMO. Next up is fasting. Now, I added this only because I did a fast recently.
I don't think society sees it as unpopular. I think people that do fasting is unpopular because fasting sucks.
Yeah, fasting does suck. I didn't think it was that terrible, but I think we have a consumption issue. I think where people are just kind of always consuming. Everything's readily available, and it's cool to get to the point where you're really, really hungry again. I think there's been very few times in my life where I've been like truly, truly hungry. And I mean, the difference between that 3 o'clock in the afternoon where you're hungry feeling, or it's nighttime and it's getting late and you haven't had dinner yet type of hunger versus that 2 or 3 day true hunger pangs and you're not answering them with food. That's a different type of hunger, which there's still a pretty significant portion of the world that actually lives like that. But humans were also basically like for thousands and thousands of years, we existed like that. So your body can handle going a little while without food. Anything you want to add on fasting?
I haven't tried it. Well, at least intentionally.
All right, then let's hit number 3. That was number 12. Let's go back to number 3.
Next one: vanilla ice cream and just vanilla as a flavor.
Vanilla as an adjective.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with this.
One, vanilla ice cream is outside of like when you go to the crazy flavors like chocolate chip cookie dough and moose tracks. But if you're just doing kind of the big 3, chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry, vanilla has always been my favorite.
Like vanilla is a really like delicate and complex flavor, and like a good vanilla, like um like vanilla extract on vanilla ice cream. Like take some vanilla extract and like
Or you're making your vanilla ice cream more vanilla-y?
yeah, but like dude, like
I want to be as
true
vanilla as
extract,
possible.
like vanilla beans are crazy expensive.
Yeah, they are. Vanilla beans are very expensive. Vanilla extract, if you're getting the good stuff, is very expensive also.
Yeah. So like I don't think that like yeah, and like the adjective of like oh it's just so vanilla. Like it's like vanilla for the kids out there, vanilla is what people now call mid.
All right.
Which is like not bad, but also just not good. It's
No,
mid.
but it's not bad. It's not.
No, what I'm saying is that
It's
vanilla
not
doesn't deserve
good.
it.
It is good. It is good. Vanilla is good.
Right, that's what I'm saying is that vanilla is good, and it's like it's gotten like language has done vanilla dirty.
Yeah, it really has. It really has. All right. So we got 1, 2, 3, 11, 12. Here's 13. Reading information books. So I feel like there are people who, so reading isn't popular. I'm not saying you should read. I know reading is unpopular. Maybe you should be doing it. I'm not saying you should be reading.
I am.
Yeah, you like to read. I'm not asserting that you should read stories. I think the majority of people who do read story books, but I actually like reading for information. I like reading to learn things. I'm not much of a, if I want to hear a story, I'm going to watch a movie. It's just faster. And I like movies. I like the cinematic experience. I like the surround sound. But I like reading books for information. I think that's way underrated. I think people should be doing a lot more of it. And also, you can learn so much stuff from books that you don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars in a university to learn. Anything else you want to add there? Or should we go from 13 to number 4?
4.
All right.
All right, this one's personal for me. Not having children.
Yeah, I think that is becoming more popular.
It is.
I will say it is, generally speaking, unpopular. I think most people expect to have kids and want to have kids. But I think with the newest generation, and we're seeing this in a lot of the developed nations, the birth rate per capita is decreasing.
Well, yeah, and there's a variety of reasons for that, but I can just think about in my own experience. And I mean, I've been on this train for like 35 years, but no, 25 years. Bad at math.
All right, go for it.
Is like I've never wanted to have kids. Like nothing about the kid having experience appeals to me. And like I said this when I was in college, I said this when I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, etc. And like I would get the same response from people that were older than me is like, you'll change your mind over time. There's just a condescension from them of like, how could you say that you don't want to have the like you don't want to go through this experience? And there and you I read these stories all the time of people that are like dating or maybe engaged and meeting like the other person's family and the other person's family like, so when are you guys going to have
It's
kids?
pushing them to have children.
Yeah, so there's still tremendous societal pressure. Maybe it's waning, maybe it's
No,
not as
I think it definitely is waning. I had a thought yesterday um, about what happens in the theoretically what happens in the future when everyone lives forever and no one is having children.
well,
That's
that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But this is my theory. Me theorizing. Well, relaxing on the sofa. That experience will be lost by so many people. Um, just total society shift. Let's try to hit one more before we talk about this bar trivia question. So that was number 4. Let's hit number 14. Being patient and keeping your head down. Patience, I notice, is something that's lacking. I notice it in the workplace. I see a lot of people bouncing around from job to job to job. I see a lot of people just not being where they want to be, but not sticking with something for a long enough time. And I think, and I talk often in the training, and I've been doing it a lot in the last few months about the combination of patience and self-awareness. That being patient alone can be really dumb if you're like not doing the right things. But if you're doing something and you know you're doing the right thing and you're self-aware, that it may just you need to continue doing it for a long enough time for it to pay off.
Well, there's also patience as a strategy.
Okay, elaborate. But this is kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's like so if you're just being patient because like you've got no idea what you're doing, that's like kind of ineffective patience. But if you are using patience as a tool, then like it's really powerful. And I mean, defining patience, patience can be anywhere from the ability to wait 1 to 5 seconds to well multiple days or years. But like think about if you're in an interview or you're in a negotiation, right? Like being able to just let there be silence in the room,
Oh yeah.
that's
Oh yeah.
patience though.
Sometimes you have to just not be the first person to speak, and you will win in those few seconds. It's usually not going to be any more than 5 or 6 seconds. But by the
Right.
way, when you're face to face with someone and not a word is spoken for 5 or 6 seconds, the air gets very uncomfortable.
So I mean patience in that regard, but like even in my own job, like and this is something that like I had to get some training on in terms of like a question would come in and I'd want to answer it immediately. And my brother would be like, no, we can wait on this. I'm like, why? He's like, because maybe somebody else will answer it and then we won't have to. but like not in the like we don't want to do our job, but
No,
it's
it's
like,
just like you can't do everything. It's like
but it's also like we don't want to commit ourselves to a position when somebody else might be like it's like if like a branch is asking for concessions on a loan to reduce the pricing or whatever, like we might have an idea as to how much we're willing to give, but by waiting sometimes we can get the branch to just like chip in all of it. And he's like, yeah, just wait, see what they ask for.
So, what I notice often, because I work with a lot of new real estate agents in their early 20s to early 30s, and some are older, but I see it a lot more in the younger guys, is they look around and they see there are people in the industry making lots of money, and they might be struggling because they're new at this career that they took a 2-week course to get licensed for. In New York State, there's a 77-hour course that you have to take, 77 and a half hour course that you have to take to get your real estate license. I just always call it a 2-week course because I look at there being 40 hours in a work week. 2 work weeks is 80 hours. So theoretically, you could do this course in 2 weeks. I know it takes everybody 3 or 4 months, but that's just a discipline and motivation issue. But we get these new agents, they took a 2-week course and they come in and they see there are people in the industry making hundreds of thousands of dollars, making millions of dollars. And they have a real inability to just keep their head down and be patient for a few months or 8 months or even a couple of years. Somebody's in this business for 14 months and they're not crushing it. They're like, oh, I'm in the wrong place. Like I need to make some moves. I'm obviously doing the wrong thing. It's like, dude, you've been look around at the successful people. Okay. You've been doing this for like 4 minutes. This guy's been doing this for 11 years. This guy's been doing this for 31 years.
Well, think about it. Like, imagine you get a job on Wall Street, right? And you just got out of college and you just started on Wall Street, and in your office is full of people that are making $3-10 million a year, right? And you're in the office making 110 or something. Like the people, you're not going to say like I should be making $3-10 million by the end of this year. Like you're going to say these people have been in this office for 25 years. That's how they got to make 3 to 10 million.
But it's a long game issue. Now, what I've seen happen a lot in the last few months, because the business has slowed down, and that's when people start to freak out. Um, they are just going to follow other people who are more successful and just try to like suck off of them. That's maybe a bad way to put it, but they're following people that are more successful rather than putting in the work from the beginning and just having patience and uh, and just having this long game attitude, like I'm in it for the long game. Each day is going to be better. Each day I'm going to work harder and do something new. People don't have that mentality. They're saying, what I'm doing right now, it didn't work yesterday. I can't possibly do it again today. And they look other directions. All right, let me hit the bar trivia question from last week. Do you remember the trivia question from last week? You thought you had it figured out. Do you remember the question from last week?
Honestly, no.
Okay, this is a biblical question. We were talking about the ark. I don't know if you remember, there was a big flood in the ancient years, and Moses had brought a whole bunch of animals on this ark. So my question was,
Wasn't it Noah?
oh man. So the question was, did Moses bring more or less than 1,000 different species of animal on the ark?
My answer is way, way more.
No, you already answered it. You already answered it. You blew the question. My question was, did Moses bring more or less than 1,000 species of animal on the ark?
Oh well, it was Noah, and it
It
was way
was
more
not.
than 1,000.
It was not. It was not Moses's ark. And obviously, if theoretically, if this ark did exist, it would have had to have been a hell of a lot more than 1,000 species. But the answer is Moses did not have an ark. It was Noah's ark. And you missed it last week, but you were very. I was afraid last week you were going to say, "Don't you mean Noah?" So I'm glad you missed it last week, but you definitely picked up on it this week. Let's hit. We hit 14. Let's hit number 5.
Paying taxes.
Unpopular things that you should be doing. Paying taxes. Why should you be paying taxes?
Well, two main reasons. Number one, paying taxes is good for society. Like, if you live in society and you benefit from society, you should be giving back to society. Taxes pay for the things that we need.
Okay.
It's that simple. If you want your government to provide for you, then you need to pay the government to do so.
But if we give more tax breaks to the rich, then they can that it's a trickle down effect, right?
That's been demonstrably proven false. Like
Uh,
there's a bevy of economic data that trickle down economics does not work.
how about if we look at the tax rates for the wealthy over the last 60 years?
You can all that's very easy to do. And also the tax rates for the wealthy are at the lowest they ever have been in this country.
I know they just continue to decrease and decrease.
But
Yet
so
yet
the
the
first thing is,
top most wealthy people earn and have the vast majority of the wealth.
yeah, but so that's reason number one is we live in a society. Paying taxes helps make society better for everybody. Two is you only pay taxes when you earn money. So the more money you earn, the more you pay in taxes. But like my father always says, like I would love to pay a lot in taxes because that means that I earned a lot of money.
That's a good one. Let's hit number 15. What do you do with your old things? You got a pair of shoes, you got some old clothes, you haven't worn them in a couple of years. What do you got a VCR that you're not using, you don't have any tapes left. What do you do with those things?
I mean, it very much depends on the thing.
So what I was saying was either selling them on eBay or the Facebook marketplace or donating them. I think a lot of people just throw shit away. We got uh, a society of users and abusers and people that throw shit away. Um, I am a big proponent of eBay and the Facebook marketplace. I tried everything that I have that I try to get rid of. I usually list it on there, providing it's not broken. Right. And some things that are broken, I will throw on there if there is a reasonable value. Otherwise, obviously, you got to toss it. But a lot of people don't utilize these marketplaces, and I really think they should.
I mean, I don't know. It depends because like when I moved from my apartment to here, I was blown away by how much stuff I like kind of dredged up. That I was like, I don't need this. So it was a combination of throwing a bunch of stuff away, but it was also like probably 3 or 4 trips to Goodwill.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. I don't think hit Goodwill that often. I know, especially in Manhattan, they don't. A lot of people just throw shit away. I see so much shit on the side of the road. Like I walked by this really nice luxury building the other day, and there was a pile of garbage, probably about 9 feet tall, and just like all this nice furniture and shit, just covered in garbage bags and full
Um,
garbage bags.
Let me tell you though, don't pick up furniture from the side of the road.
Well,
For
yeah,
one
generally
very good reason.
you wouldn't want to be grabbing the furniture. I'm saying that
But
person
for
should have
one
slowed down.
very, very good reason. I mean, there's more reasons, but this is the number one. And
Bed
it's
bugs.
yes.
Bed bugs. Yeah, yeah. Bed bugs can be a scary thing. Do you want to? So don't pick up used furniture from the side of the road. Do you want to hit number 6?
Number 6, buying used.
Buying used. That's the other side of selling or donating your old things. What are some recent used purchases you've got?
None, because about a year ago, I bought a pool table, and I went to the pool store, and they have new tables, but they also had consignment tables, and I got a table that probably retailed for $7,000 or $8,000 when it was new, for after delivery and new cloth and everything, about 4.
That's a lot of money for a pool table, but that's still
Well, dude,
still a good deal. Rosh is talking about pianos. A lot of the thing is getting rid of a piano, getting rid of a pool table. Oftentimes, people just give them away because it's tough to sell those.
well, yeah, but like if I had bought a new pool table, I probably would have had to spend at least $2,000 or $3,000 more than what I did to get something of similar quality.
Yeah, or you would have really compromised, and you would never have been happy. I think buying used, as far as pretty much any big ticket purchase, you can buy used. You want to buy a used car, it doesn't mean you have to buy something that's 12 years old.
No,
Uh,
even if you buy a car that's like 2 or 3 years old, it in a lot of ways it's as good as new, and you're getting probably a 50% discount.
yeah, I was going to say, yeah, 40% discount or so.
Like so many people buy new just because they want to say I have a new car.
Yeah, the one thing is furniture you got to be really careful with, and then obviously if you're doing like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist pickup, there are some additional personal risks. So always good to have somebody with you.
A lot of police departments have like Craigslist pickup areas or whatever, so you can like
I
have a
didn't know that.
relatively safe location to do a Craigslist exchange.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I just thought it was supposed to be at a Starbucks or in somebody's house.
No,
Uh,
yeah, a lot of police departments will have like an area in like a parking lot near the station that's kind of designed to be safe. So like, something stupid happens, well, the police are right there.
Next up, listening to an album in full. Now I got a listening schedule I listen to on my commutes. I got a pretty long commute, so I do usually something motivational or instructional on Mondays. Then I do a book on tape Tuesdays. Wednesdays free for all. Thursdays are Spanish lessons, and then Friday I try to listen to an album start to finish. Now these days, artists are oftentimes just kind of trying to make hit songs, but there's a lot of artists and groups that their goal is to put out an album that has a meaning from start to finish. By the way, you and I never actually touched on that one song that you sent me the other day. We'll catch up on that a little later. But oftentimes the album in whole has a greater meaning than just a single song. And the artists that put a lot of work into tying all these songs and meanings together, it's pretty cool. Not every album has that meaning, but I think it's nice to be able to listen to an album in full every once in a while, especially if it's a good one. And I don't mean like a compilation or best of album.
No, but it depends on the artist. Some artists are really big on having albums that have kind of an overarching theme, and you should really listen to the whole album. And then other artists are just like, here's the single, and then here's 10 other tracks that they made me record so that we could call it an album.
Exactly. All right. Hit number 7.
Ooh, this one you'll like.
Yeah.
Driving a manual transmission car.
It's frustrating. I have one automatic vehicle and one stick shift. I love driving stick shift. I can't. I really, when you're driving an automatic transmission car, you're not really driving the vehicle. It is so unpopular that it's almost impossible to buy a manual transmission vehicle these days. Um, but you should at the very least know how to drive a stick shift.
It's a really useful life skill, and if you ever go basically anywhere else on the planet besides the United States,
And you're stealing cars, you want to be able to drive either
or renting a car,
or yeah, I've rented a few cars in Europe and they're all stick shift.
yeah, like when I was renting a car in Spain a couple months ago, the lady's like, "You know how to drive this?" Like, yeah, like this.
It's fine. She's like, but you're American.
Yeah,
What do you mean you know how to drive this? But yeah, I that is definitely underrated, and I think everybody should be able to do it. Next up, we have pineapple on pizza. Are you a pineapple pizza guy?
yes.
I like pineapple on pizza a lot. Not always. Sometimes it's just like wet and watery and
Well, it has to be done
not-
properly, but I mean, you can come up with an example of like, here's a good idea, and then here's somebody that fucked it up. But
But no, people are so averse to it. It's pineapple on pizza, a nice I like bacon, pineapple, and jalapeno slices on a
a little
pizza.
bit of Tabasco sauce on top of it.
Little spice, a little spiciness to it. That's a great pizza.
Yep.
And I get it. It's not greasy pepperoni and sausage, and people say, "Oh, it's not pizza." If you fuck you, what do you mean it's not pizza? People put all sorts of shit on pizza. Glops of ricotta cheese, honey, leaves of basil.
I've actually had like a spicy honey pizza that was really good.
Yeah, so have I. It's good, but don't tell me just because there's pineapple on it, it's not pizza. If people are putting this other shit on pizza too, and
I did see a
you're accepting
picture
that.
of a pizza in Sweden that was like mayonnaise and peas. And the caption was like, pineapple lovers and pineapple haters, I think we can all collectively unite against this atrocity.
That's a so weird Swedish pizza. All right, yeah. So that was number 17. You want to run number 8?
Cutting toxic people out of your life.
You think that's unpopular?
I think, I mean, I didn't stick to the letter of the law on this one, but like there's a difference between like unpopular and like sometimes it's difficult, and I think it might be unpopular sometimes because people will say like you shouldn't you shouldn't cut people out of your life because maybe they're going through a hard time or something like that. And
That
especially when it comes to family. If you
But
think about
listen,
like
but hold on. On that note, people going through a rough time in their life. The thing is, when somebody's going through a rough time, sometimes that really shows who they are also. And if they are pulling you down with them, that may not be somebody you may want to continue a relationship with long term. Not that that's always the case, but
well, it makes me think about like the classic example of like if somebody is drowning and you jump in to save them, there's a really good chance that they pull you down with them.
yeah, that is very true. That is very true.
But like
Uh,
when it comes to family, I see this sentiment from time to time where like there's somebody that's in the family that is just a mess and is dragging everybody else in the family down with them, and then like somebody saying, you know what, I'm no longer associating with whoever because they're they're just a drag, and people will shit on them and say like you shouldn't cut family out of your life. Family's forever. I'm like, no, like this
not
person's harming everybody.
I know a decent number of people that have a toxic family member or some real shit going on in their family. And I think to myself, your life would be so much better and their life wouldn't be much worse off if
Right, but
you
so
guys
that's
got rid
why
of
like I do think it qualifies because like it's unpopular. Like people will shit on other people for cutting somebody out of their life and say, "What? How could you do that to them?"
it.
Well, here's why.
Yeah, you have a good point. Number 18, writing. A lot of people don't do much writing.
And it
Uh,
shows.
it does show. I had well, I don't want to talk about some instance in my office, but I had to correct. We talked about this. I had to correct somebody on their grammar / spelling. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But I think just the idea of getting your thoughts out on paper or typed is really good for your brain, and it allows you to think better. And I think a lot of people don't get great at thinking. Like you can get through life and not really have kind of profound and deep thoughts or adjust your life course. You just roll with things if you're not really thinking about things. And I think when you put your thoughts down on paper, it can be very helpful. Well,
And
and it can also you could be creating. You could create stories. You could create information, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah, and the other thing that writing really well, I mean, this is going along with what you're saying is like when you write something out, it also helps reveal like holes in your explanations because like a lot of times if you're explaining something to somebody or thinking that somebody understands something, there's probably like a couple of steps that you assume they know about
Hmm.
but they don't because
Well, and but it's
and
just
when you write it out and reread it and be like, oh, I
I
need
mean,
to explain that.
look, that's one of my favorite things about this podcast. It allows me to articulate my thoughts, and also the fact that you and I don't always agree on everything. So to a degree, this podcast is kind of my outlet for ideas and thoughts. And oftentimes we don't agree on things, and one of us changes our mind. Usually me. But if we agreed on everything, we probably wouldn't need both of us on this
It
podcast.
would happen less often if you weren't so frequently wrong.
That's what you would think, isn't it? All right, let's hit number 9.
This one, I feel like I this is a reach, but interracial dating.
Is a reach because it's not quite unpopular.
I guess I'm not really sure.
I do know a lot of people that are would not consider doing that, but that seems very strange to me. I think the thing is people are oftentimes most comfortable with what they know, and a lot of people don't grow up in very diverse places.
Well, we
So
didn't.
we didn't either. Yeah, but our life experiences brought us into more diverse environments. But also one hint to people that once you are open to the idea of dating interracially, your options multiply. So
Yeah, like, but it's also like I'll say having been in an interracial relationship, I learned a lot of things that I would have never been able to learn if I hadn't been able to get close to somebody that had very different life experiences than me.
yeah, that's I mean very true. You have somebody with a very different life experience and background than you do. All right, that's number 9. Let's hit number 19. Working a shitty job. I think it's important that everybody has the experience to work a lousy job. I'm not saying it needs to be your career for a lifetime, but I think there's a lot of value that comes in knowing what it's like to work a shitty job whether it gives you the perspective so that you don't treat other people with that role poorly, or it gives you a harder work ethic, but it gives you a good understanding of work.
Well, yeah, I've heard this idea of like everyone should have to work either a retail or a food and bev job at some point in their life.
I agree. I think I
I've
completely,
done both, so
yeah. Next up, we got that. Get in over your head. I think, and again, I train real estate agents now, almost exclusively. A lot of agents are afraid to try things that they don't know, that it's like people don't want to do things for the first time unless it's modeled for them. And the thing is, when you when you're doing something that's new to you, sometimes you're biting off a little more than you can chew. You might surprise yourself with how much you actually can do and the solutions that you come up with these problems. You may not be able to achieve it or do everything, but you would do a lot more than if you just stuck to the small potatoes.
well, and getting over your head introduces the very real chance of failure. And I would say, unless it's a life or death situation, like you don't want to have like a doctor that's like, "Oh, I failed. Okay, well, the funeral's next Tuesday." But, but sorry, like failing oftentimes will lead to greater growth than mild
And playing
success.
it safe, yeah, that's the point. All right, next up on here, take a long road trip by car.
I think this used to be really popular, and it isn't anymore.
It isn't at all anymore, and I think that's because plane travel is pretty cheap. Um, I don't know exactly why people don't take long road trips. You and I have taken many 10-hour plus trips in the car. It's
When was the last time you did a long road trip?
I was just trying to think that. I don't know. I mean, I spend a hell of a lot of time. I'm in the car at least 3 hours a day.
Right,
Uh,
but like
but
I
more
can
than a
think about
3 hour
like
trip.
I've made a number of drives that are in like the 3 to 4 hour range over the
Yeah,
last couple
yeah, me
years,
too.
but I haven't done like the last time I did like a
Like
road
a
trip that
10-hour
was
trip or something.
yeah, it was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I was thinking about hitting the Carolinas by car this spring or summer, just for maybe like a long weekend. I thought that could be cool. I used to I used to leave Friday evening and arrive super early on a Sunday morning, either to or from New York or South Carolina, and then leave Sunday night, Sunday afternoon, and get in crazy early Monday morning, sleep for a couple hours, and go to work. I might I might not go that hard on one of these trips for just a 2-day trip, but I think it could be cool to do. I could probably make it to South Carolina in 10 and a half hours. That's obviously a nonstop road trip, but
But the thing about road trips is like the the traveling is the experience. As opposed to like flying somewhere where the traveling is like a hurdle that you have to clear to get to where you want to go. Like the road trip is like the traveling is the experience.
yeah, you get to stop, you get to take in the scene. It can be cool. All right, I was going to add by motorcycle too, but long road trips on motorcycle,
Oh no, 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 no.
not on your bike or my bike, but there are bikes that are made for trips,
Yeah,
uh,
but
not ours, and,
no.
and it's just not
More
fun.
so yours than mine, but not by much.
No, not by much. Next up is eating dark chocolate. And I don't mean like the dark chocolate you get with the Lindt truffles that are like 60% chocolate, but mostly butter and sugar. I mean like the 85, 90, 95% dark chocolate.
That stuff's really bitter.
It is very bitter, but it's not terrible for you, and it's high in antioxidants. But oftentimes it hits the spot. You're the guy that's drinking balsamic vinegar, so.
Yeah.
uh, but I really like. Sometimes I have a little bit of a sweet tooth, and I'm thinking like, damn, what could I eat? And I'd like to keep some dark chocolate on hand, and I'll usually have a square or two of that, and I am good to go. Plus, it's got a decent amount of caffeine in it, so. Um, it just helps all around. Next up, I have eggs. Eggs have been shat on for a while. People
I
say,
feel like the consensus on eggs is changing every couple of years. Like
eggs were
some years
shot
it's
on.
like, yeah, you should be eating eggs. Other
They're
time, like, no, eggs will kill you.
they're high in cholesterol.
But
Let me
isn't
tell you
it good
something.
cholesterol?
I don't think cholesterol is good.
I think there is. There's like good cholesterol and bad
I
cholesterol.
don't think that's how it works. Either way, though, I will tell you something. You find me a person that eats 2 eggs a day for breakfast versus the person that eats cereal or a Pop-Tart or a donut or bagel for breakfast. I'm guessing that the person with the eggs is a much healthier.
This is a correlation versus causation.
Uh, yeah, I think there are other factors, which leads me to my last one today, number 24, salt. I think most of the studies we have with sodium intake are skewed because most of the people with a high sodium intake are eating the lousy foods that are high in sodium. So people who have high sodium intake are eating lots of processed foods. I don't think it's the sodium that is the
I don't
downside.
know. But you're also biased because I've never met anybody that likes salt on food as much as you do.
And I have, I get a good blood pressure. I drink a lot of water, though. I drink a lot of water, and when I work out and when I don't work out, I sweat a lot. So your body sweats out a lot of salt. But I don't think salt is the enemy that we believe it to be. Not table salt, at least. Foods that are high in sodium, again, are typically very processed foods. And I think those are the things that are bad for you. I think that's a correlation and not causation, but we haven't been able to sparse the data.
Parse.
Oh, fucking A. Parse. Thank you very much. All right. Speaking of little known things, like my grasp on English, should we hit the new trivia question? This was I had somebody in my office today celebrating a deal, and they had.
Hang on. I was just thinking back to like when we were talking about reading, and
Yeah.
like this is one of my favorite things to do. So anybody that's listening to this can steal this from me. But if somebody's reading and like they either like pause or like stumble a little bit, the best thing to say to them is
Sound it out.
Sound it out.
I haven't done that in a while, but I love doing that.
Man, they get so pissed.
So sparse the data. That was good. I had somebody in my office. They had a little glass of something this afternoon, and some type of liquor, and they said, "Oh, this is strong." And then somebody added something to it, and they said, "Oh, what you added to it has alcohol in it too. That makes it stronger." So my trivia question for this week is: you have half a liter of 100 proof spirit, and you mix it with another half liter of 50 proof. Of the amount of liquid that you have, what is the percentage alcohol?
Oh, like, what's the resulting proof?
What's the resulting percentage alcohol? So don't answer the question now. I'll let it spin in your head a little bit. If you have a pen and paper, it becomes very simple, but it's also math you could do in your head. Especially if you understand proofs. So on that note, that pretty much wraps us up. 25 unpopular things that you should be doing, which coincidentally was actually just 23. But I think we got there, and I want to thank you guys for joining. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite audio podcast platform, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Check out SipTalk Podcast. This has been a SipTalk Podcast production. My name is Justin DiGiulio, joined by...
Oh, I'm supposed to say something.
Joined by James Boswell.
You do the intros. I figure you're doing the outros too.
We have our co-producer Rash Galeb in the background here, in the back cave. So on that note, we will do our awkward dismount and thank you for coming. Adios, everyone. All right, you made it this far. Thank you for joining. Looking forward to seeing you next time.
I like PBR. I just got priced out of it.